All rise. We will lever. Please be seated. We will just swap.
We are in open session, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Senator, please.
Mr. President, Your Honors, I would wish to just conclude the bit that I had intended to conclude in private.
Private session, then.
We're in open session, Your Honor.
Thank you. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, we are now in open session, and therefore I would want to just remind you that you should be careful about the giving of any answers that may tend to make your identity known.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Witness, in your evidence in chief, you spoke of your area having witnessed ethnic clashes in 1997 and that people feared a recurrence.
Yes.
Now, in 1997, between which communities were those clashes?
The clashes were between the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu living around that area.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. And you did testify yesterday that you, I will take that again, Mr. Witness.
Yes.
You did testify yesterday that people heard a sound that you called nduru, that is N-D-U-R-U.
Yes.
We are in open session, and we also know we have protected information sheet. So if you need to refer to people and the information of those indication of their identities and the PIS, please use that. To you too.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be mindful of that. Now, my question to you, Mr. Witness, then, is whether in 1997 you had heard a similar sound.
Mr. President, we would like to object to this line of questioning. It looks like counsel for the victims is going mainly into the facts instead of sticking to the outline plan he had given to the judges, which is to talk about the victimization the victim went through. With regards to the facts, the prosecution had done a good job in scintillating what the judges need to know. And we think he is going way overboard, and the question ought not to be allowed. Thank you.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President, Your Honors. I beg to differ with my learned colleague. The witness has already indicated, he did so yesterday, that there was fear of recurrence. And the fear of recurrence was within the context of the sounds that were heard, and the question then would come within the very specific context of whether those sounds had been the ones that got people to fear that there would have been a recurrence. It's very, very specific to that.
All right, proceed. Let's see how you do.
Mr. Witness, my question to you is whether or not in 1997 you had heard similar sounds to those that you heard in 2007 prior to attacks.
I did not hear in 1997.
Thank you. Now, you did say that on 30th of December 2007, you saw two houses in location 2 burning. And my question to you is, how many houses you recall burning at that location the following day, if there were any that you recall seeing?
The following day was 31st December 2007. No house remaining to a Kikuyu was standing. All were burnt on that day, 31st December.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Now, when you say no house belonging to Kikuyus was standing on 31st December 2007, at what locations are you referring to? Please name as many locations as you find on the PIS with regard to houses that were burnt.
I'm particularly referring to location number 2.
Thank you. Now, what about the other locations? That is to say, location 1, location 5, location 6, and generally location 7.
On 31st, houses were burnt in location 1, location 2, location 5, and 6. And by 1st of January 2008, all houses were burnt, and burning was not going on because the houses were all burnt.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Now, you gave evidence how you got to a roadblock, but you had hidden your identity card and you were allowed to pass after you told those manning the roadblock that you had been robbed of your identity documents. Now, I would want you to tell the judges what was running in your mind at that time regarding the possibility, your possibility of not being allowed to pass through the roadblock.
Yet again, Mr. President, I object to this line of questioning. Counsel did indicate to the judges, promise the judges that he would not repeat questions. But I can remember that witness was asked, what did you think would happen? And he said, I thought I'd be killed. But the issue is, counsel is opening up, is doubling on what the prosecution has already done. He's going over the points dealt with by the prosecution. And if we continue in that regard, we would have double examination in chief. And that would not help anybody. We'll remain here for much longer than necessary.
But also, if we have double examination in chief, the prosecution may also not want that. Now, Mr. Nderitu, the objection is that the question you now asked was asked and answered, and the answers and the nature of the witness thought he would be killed. Are you expecting a different answer, or was that not satisfactory? If that does it, then move on to another question.
Mr. President, I do appreciate the concerns of my learned colleague. But let me also say, with due respect to him, that there are different approaches to the same question that could be asked. And in my submission,
let's not take different approaches to the same question. Let's avoid areas that the prosecution has already covered, because in following a different approach may do havoc to what the prosecution has done in terms of their examination in chief. That is one of the considerations amongst many. So if the prosecution has elicited the information, we need to leave it there. If there is a remainder that you feel you need for purposes of your own submissions in the end, you can zero in on that remainder that needs to come in, rather than open up an area that had already, or a subject that the prosecution had already covered.
I'm much obliged. Mr. Witness, with regard to your house that was burned, would you describe the house in greater detail, please?
Do we need that question? If we do, we're in open session. Do we need to describe the house?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, we need to go into close. I request that we go into a closed session.
All right, we'll go into private session.
Private session.
Private session, I take it you'll be able to do this in a question. So in a minute or two, we'll be back out.
Yes, in a question or two.
We go to private session.
We're in open session, Your Honors.
Thank you. And witness, Mr. Nderitu, the counsel for victims, has concluded asking you questions. Now, Mr. Fowl, a lawyer for Mr. Ruto, will ask you questions in cross-examination. Mr. Fowl, how much time do you expect to spend with this witness, knowing, of course, the scope of his testimony?
I anticipate that by lunch break tomorrow, I should be finished. That's what I anticipate. It all depends on how fast we progress today. But I am hoping that certainly tomorrow, before lunch break, I should be finished.
what was he testified to that will make you take that much time in cross-examination?
Mr. President, we are alive to the fact that this witness did not mention our client at all. We are alive to that fact.
Question is, why are you cross-examining him?
As a matter of defense strategy, we deem it necessary to cross-examine the witness for a few reasons. Some of the issues the witness testified about seem to confirm prosecution theory of the case, and it is essential for the defense to put an alternative narrative to what has happened. We would not be seeking to show that this witness is a liar or a witness who is not speaking the truth. No, that would not be our objective. We would be seeking to put an alternative narrative to some of the issues the witness testified about, and also to lend greater clarity to the witness's point of view on certain issues. But given the opportunity, we would calibrate and reassess our situation as we move along, and if necessary, we can terminate it sooner than we actually plan at the moment.
It can be dangerous to cross-examine a witness who's done you no harm. You know that. But beyond that,
well, Mr. President,
1 second, beyond that, the prosecution's theory of the case does not hang in the air. It's that you'd be interested in would be parts of it that relate to liability, isn't it, or responsibility of your client?
Well, Mr. President, if we can be rest assured that the witness has done us no harm, we rest now and not cross-examine the witness at all.
Well, you said he has not mentioned your client.
Well, all I am seeking, Mr. President, is the reassurance from the chamber that the witness has done us no harm. In that case, we would rest.
May I revise? Witness who's not mentioned your client. It's up to you, Mr. Farr, but you're not going to spend a whole day.
Mr. President, I take the key from the bench.
Yes.
I would do as much as possible, reorganize and reduce the cross-examination. I would do my best endeavor to finish today.
See?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, good afternoon. My name is Esa Fall. I am one of the lawyers for Honorable William Ruto, and I would question you on behalf of the defense team for Mr. Ruto. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Please listen carefully to the questions that I am going to ask you. If you do not understand a question or my rather difficult accent, please let me know and I will repeat the question or clarify it. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And also, in answering questions, please try not to give out information that would disclose your identity. That is very important. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Mr. President, Your Honors, with your permission, I would ask that a PIS form be passed on to the witness. I believe it is already in the binders that have been provided to Your Honors and the parties. So I just ask the assistance of the court usher to pass it on to the witness. Mr. Witness, you can put it aside for the time being. We will come back to it later. For now, Mr. Witness, you need to know that the majority of us in this courtroom are not from Kenya. But it is important to understand the geography of some of the areas talked about so that your evidence can be put in its proper context. We think that you would be able to help us to understand some of these locations, to know where they are and how they fit into the local government administration of Kenya in 2007. So at the outset, I would be right to say that you would be able to assist us to understand where some of these locations are. Is that right?
Yes.
At that time, excuse me, let me rephrase that. You are aware, are you not, that the village is the lowest level in the hierarchy of local government administration in Kenya?
Yes, I know.
And the village is usually headed by village elders. Is that right?
It is right.
The position of a village elder is often not a paid position. They are there to assist the assistant chiefs. Is that correct?
It is.
And is it right that a collection of villages would normally form what they call a sub-location?
Yes, they form a sub-location, a collection of villages.
And a sub-location is headed by an assistant chief, isn't it?
Yes.
It is true, is it not, that a collection of sub-locations would form what is called a location?
It is correct.
And a location is often headed by a chief. Is that right?
It is right.
Mr. Witness, perhaps allow a pause between the question and the answer. Otherwise, we would overlap in speaking.
I'll observe that.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. And a collection of locations would form what is called a division. Is that right?
Yes, it is right.
And a division is headed by a district officer, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And Mr. Witness, a collection of divisions would form a district. Is that right?
It is right.
And a district is headed by a district commissioner, isn't it? DC.
Yes, it is headed by a DC, but right now this has changed, okay? You notice the changes.
Mr. Witness, we are talking about the situation that obtained in 2007 and 2008.
Okay, observed.
Would I be right to say that a district in 2007 and 2008 was headed by a district commissioner, called, often abbreviated as DC?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Witness, let us look at some of the places within the Eldoret area fit in this organization of local government administration we just talked about. And for this purpose, Mr. President, may I ask that we go briefly into private session?
Before we do, so we all understand each other, when you speak about local government administration, you mean everything that comes within the district?
Yes, Mr. President. I did not go as far as the province. Yes.
Thank you. We'll go to private session. For how long?
About 3 to 4 minutes, Mr. President.
Private session.
We're in public session, Your Honors.
Mr. Witness, earlier on we have talked about Huruma. So we now want to discuss where Huruma is located. Are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Mr. Witness, you would agree with me that Huruma by itself is a sub-location. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Are you aware that the position of Assistant Chief for Huruma in 2007 and 2008 was vacant?
I don't know that.
Very well, Mr. Witness. But are you aware that at the present moment, the Assistant Chief for Huruma is a lady, for Rono?
I do not know.
Spelling, Counsel?
Jennifer, Jennifer, Rono, Rono. But, Mr. Witness, in 2007, and indeed up to this day, Huruma sublocation is part of the location, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Kapyemit is spelled Kapyemit, Kapyemit location. And in fact, Kapyemit location is comprised of two sub-locations, namely Huruma and Kapsoa. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
And Kapsoas is spelled K-A-P-S, Kapsoas. And tell us if you know that the Assistant Chief of Kapsoa's location in 2007 is called Mr. Philomen Birech. Do you know that?
Yes, I've been hearing that.
And Philomen is spelled Philomen, Philomen, and Birech is Birech. And the chief of Kapyemit location in 2007 was a lady called Miss Rukia Kibet, wasn't she?
Yes.
And Rukia is... There were problems.
There were no problems, but people had fear. Others were casting their votes and moving from their residential areas towards their homelands.
Mr. Witness, do you remember giving a statement to the prosecution?
Yes, I gave the statement.
And when you gave the statement, did you read it yourself or did you have it read over to you?
I read it myself.
And you were satisfied with the contents of your statement before you signed it, were you?
Yes, I was satisfied.
And when you arrived at the seat of the court, you also had a session with the prosecution, didn't you?
Yes, I had.
And during this session, you were given an opportunity to again read your statement and make corrections. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
You, in fact, made changes to your statement, didn't you?
No, I did not.
You clarified certain points you did not agree with in your statement. Do you recall that?
I don't remember that.
Afford me 1 minute, Mr. President. Sorry about that. Mr. Witness, on the 26th of March 2014, you had a meeting with the prosecution. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And we are made to understand that after reviewing your statement, you made certain clarifications about the content of your statement. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And Mr. President, the clarifications are contained in 1C of the binder, tab 1C of the binder. I made a mistake, Mr. President. That's my personal binder. My apologies. And when you made...
But do we have it anywhere?
I can give the ERN number, Mr. President. It is KEN-OTP-0126-0191. And the witness made about 14 or 15 corrections or clarifications in his statement. So, Mr. Witness.
Before you proceed, is it in any of our bundles?
It is not in the prosecution binder, but I have a spare copy which is marked that I'm happy to assist at you.
Is it also possible to upload it so we don't use your marked copy?
I believe it is, Your Honor, but I rely to the expertise of the court officer. Thank you.
If the document is not current in Ringtail, it can be uploaded, but after the session when the prosecution provides us with the electronic copy. Thank you. Yes, we can use that one.
We can provide a copy or 2 copies to your honors. Court usher, please, could you help?
2 copies, perhaps you should give one to the witness.
Yes, Mr. President. My apologies for speaking while you are talking. We do not intend to go into the content of the clarifications. All we wanted to make sure of is that the witness has indeed looked at his statement and made changes to things that he wished to clarify or things he wished to amend in his statement. That's the purpose, really, not to go into the content of the changes.
I see. All right. So at this point, we have no further use for the clarification note.
Indeed, considering that the witness has agreed that he indeed looked at his statement and made changes.
made clarifications.
And some changes, Mr. President.
All right, we will proceed and see.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. Witness, in fact, in reality, you were given the opportunity to look at your statement and make some changes. That's right?
Yes.
And let me take you to your statement. It is Ken OTP -0088 -0554. It is contained in tab 19 of the bundle. And perhaps I should provide a copy for the witness so that he can take a look at it. The court usher, would you be helpful? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Witness, do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Would you confirm to the court that it is the statement you gave to the prosecution?
Yes, it is the statement I gave to the prosecution.
And in fact, your initial appears on all the pages, and you signed, and you appended your signature to the document. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
And this is the statement you gave. You're satisfied with it?
Yes, I'm satisfied.
Let me take you to paragraph 19 of the statement. It is contained in KEN-OTP 0088-0057. Have you found paragraph 19?
Yes, I have.
Would you kindly read it to the court?
I voted on the day of the election. I do not remember the exact date, but I think it was around the 24th to 27th December 2007. Everything was normal and there was no problems.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. You may put it aside, you may put it away. So, Mr. Witness, when you spoke to the prosecution, you told them that everything was normal. There were no problems. That's what you told them, correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. So, during that time, there was a general expectation that ODM would win. Is that correct?
Before you proceed, what do you make of your use of paragraph 19 to the witness? Do you want him to clarify something?
I am content with the answer given, Mr. President, because the witness had initially said that the opposite was true.
Right. Witness, now you've seen this document and what the counsel read to you, saying everything was normal and there were no problems. The point is, you had also testified a moment ago in terms of the transcript time you say that in answer to the prosecutor's question that you said everything was not normal because there was fear in the air and people were voting and packing up and leaving. How do you reconcile the two?
By saying that everything was normal, there were no burning of houses. Anybody can fear anything and move away. So people are moving because they are fearing something. That is normal for people. When they fear something, they can move.
So what you're saying is, when you say everything was normal, you meant in terms of actual violence?
Yes, actual violence, there was nothing.
Thank you. Move on, Ms. Fowl.
Mr. Witness, there was the general expectation after voting that ODM would win. Is that right?
I do not know that.
Prior to the election, there was talk that PNU, led by former President Kibaki, was planning to rig the election. Is that right?
I do not know about that.
Mr. Witness, you watch the news on television, don't you?
I sometimes do, not always.
Do you also read the newspapers?
I do read them when I have money to buy. If I don't have money, I don't read and I don't buy.
Have you heard that just a few days before the elections, there were rumors that administration officers, that is administration police officers, were being used by the Kibaki government to rig the elections? Did you hear that?
I did not.
Mr. Witness, did you hear that in fact in Suba district, administration police officers were attacked and killed because they were suspected of carrying fake ballot papers? Are you aware of that?
That information never reached me. I'm not aware.
You are telling this court that you never heard that there were suggestions or allegations that the Kibaki government was planning on stealing the vote.
I have no information concerning that.
But have you heard the rumor?
No, I did not hear.
Are you aware, Mr. Witness, you said you watched the tallying of the results. Do you remember saying that?
I remember saying that when I was in my house with my family and some friends, we observed parts, and then I left it at that.
And are you aware that in the initial days of the tallying, Honorable Raila Odinga was leading by about 1 million votes? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Do you know that on 29th December 2007, the results showed that Raila Odinga was leading by about 300,000 votes? Did you see that?
I don't remember seeing that.
Mr. Witness, are you aware of a sense of anxiety amongst the people that the delayed announcement of the results signaled a desire to steal the vote. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
But you are aware that the delay in the announcement of the results caused a lot of tension.
Yes, I do.
And also the drama that was unfolding at the KICC further heightened this tension.
I did not observe the happenings at KICC.
Which channel were you watching, Mr. Witness?
It may be it was taking place when I was not at home. I was outside.
Did you see Mr. Kivuitu, Kivuitu? Is that, I hope that's the correct spelling. Mr. Kivuitu, the then chairman of the IEBC, of the Electoral Commission at the time. Did you see him on television addressing the nation about the results?
Yes, I saw him.
And did you see him talking about people cooking up results?
He talked of so many things, but my interest was in conclusion, who won the election at that.
Did you hear him talk about cooking up results?
I did not listen to that.
Okay, Mr. Witness, with your Honor's permission, I would wish to play a short video clip for the witness and ask him whether he had seen that particular broadcast of events that were happening at the KICC. Mr. President, this video was played for other witnesses, but considering that this witness is saying that he did not see or hear Kivuitu talk about cooking up results, I would just wish to play it for him, to give him the opportunity to again reconsider his answer.
It is something that needs to be taken with extreme caution, because if the witness said he did not see or hear something, how much you want to feed him information, it's not just for your own side of the case, but we also want to run this proceeding. I will trust that we're getting somewhere with this. I'll leave it at that for now. Let us watch the material.
May I ask that this video be played? It is KEN-D09-0019-0003. It's a document that's been MFI'd before, and it's MFI-D-D09-00050. And the transcript is contained in... yes, but there's a transcript. Excuse me, Mr. President. The timestamp is 01:08 to 01:36.
The results that
kindly play the video.
Away from here, the devil, so that we wait for those results. And if it were possible for us to fly there and go and find out what kind of cooking is going on. We hope nothing is going wrong, because if people come here with false results, they will be exciting people for nothing, and they will never see the sun again.
Do you now recall ever seeing this particular clip aired on television?
I did not see it.
Would you say that the scenes contained in that clip remind you of what you saw or similar events you saw on television during that time?
Events which interested me was not this conferencing. It was just after the figures to know who was leading and who was following.
Mr. Witness, where were the figures you were interested in announced?
Some were announced through the radio, others on television.
But you were following events on television, were you not?
Sometimes, not always. Mostly I relied on the radio, which I had put beside my bed to listen.
Mr. Witness, are you avoiding to say that you had seen similar events as the one depicted on that video?
Elsewhere or on this one?
When you were watching television at home with people and your family, did you see events similar to the ones depicted in this video?
Yes, I may have seen.
Well, and in this video, do you recognize Mr. Kivuitu?
Yes, I recognize him.
And do you agree that on that clip, you heard him talk about cooking up results?
Yes, I heard him.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Witness, you would agree with me that even during this time, international observers were also talking about rigging of the elections by PNU. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Mr. Witness, are you telling this court that throughout this period, when results were delayed for a number of days, you never heard anyone talk about that PNU was stealing the vote?
That is argumentative now. You need to move on.
May I rephrase, Mr. President? Did you hear, or did you not, that PNU was planning or was actually rigging the vote between the dates 27 December to 30 December? You did not hear that?
I did not hear it.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Do you recall that there was a time at around 30 December when they actually put a blackout on live TV broadcast? Do you remember that?
I don't remember because I was not watching the TV.
Mr. Witness, you just told the court earlier that you were watching TV at your home with other people. Do you remember that?
I remember that, and I said I watched it for a while. Then I left the people watching, and I went outside.
So you were not aware at all that there was a blackout on live TV broadcast?
I'm not aware. The blackout might have come about when I was outside.
Counsel, perhaps you can explain what you mean by blackout.
There was a time, Mr. Witness, when all television networks were not allowed to broadcast anything. It was only KBC that was broadcasting. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware.
Where were you, Mr. Witness, when the results, presidential election results, were announced?
I was in my house.
And through which medium did you come to know the results?
Through the radio.
What time of the day was this?
I don't remember the exact time, but it was sometimes in the evening.
And did you see the swearing-in ceremony on television?
I did not watch it.
Do you know when Kibaki was sworn in as president?
I don't remember exactly when. It may be 30th or 31st of December.
He was sworn in on 30th December. Do you recall now?
Yeah, correct, I recall.
And do you recall that he was sworn in as president a few hours after he was announced as winner?
I don't remember that. I only remember hearing that he has won the election. Just that.
And of course, Mr. Witness, soon after that, you heard people say that Kibaki had stolen the vote, did you not?
I heard people say so before the elections were announced when I went to a shop to buy. And the shopkeeper, not people, a shopkeeper just said Kibaki was stealing the votes. A shopkeeper only.
So you in fact heard, before the results were announced, that the votes were being stolen. Is that your testimony now?
The testimony is I heard it from a shopkeeper, not from people, not from radio, not from TV, from a shopkeeper.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Witness. And you would agree that the results took a number of people by surprise, would you not?
I would not.
Mr. President, perhaps we could leave it here for now, and then we'll proceed after lunch. Thank you.
We will. You'll be wrapping up by the end of today. We will.
If I must, Mr. President.
Yes, you do. We will be rising for lunch. Witness, we will come back at 2:30.
Yes,
Your
Your Honor.
lunch break. We will go into closed session so that the witness may be ushered out of the courtroom.